So before I even get into talking about Eden Zero and my overall thoughts slash first impressions of the series, I just want to say that when I started this, I went in with an open mind. Because if any of you were aware, I have quite the relationship slash history with Fairy Tail. It's a series that I have covered on my channel in the past while it was still ongoing as a manga and as an anime, and I talked about it extensively. I made quite a few videos on it, even rant videos about the series, and just to keep it 100% real with all of you and no lies, I wasn't a big fan of Fairy Tail. I wasn't. I was not a fan of Fairy Tail's overall conclusion. It started off great. I loved it up until, we saw Erza's arc, Tower of Heaven. I loved that arc. And I say Fairy Tail stayed very consistent until we went to the alternate reality. And that's where it really started to drop off hard, at least for me personally. And then it slowly spiraled down. But I don't want to rehash old things I've said in other videos, because once again, this video is about Eden Zero. I just want to say that when I went into watching Eden Zero, I am not letting my bias from Fairy Tail dictate my overall emotions of Eden Zero. Even if I dislike Fairy Tail as a series, I'm not going to say Eden Zero is trash just because Fairy Tail, I think it's trash. So that I just want to make sure I clarify that and let everybody know that we're on the same page, that I'm going in this with the least amount of bias I could possibly have. Obviously, you can never get rid of some bias, but I am going to try my very hardest while I'm about to talk about this series with no bias from Fairy Tail. But okay, Eden Zero. I've only seen currently at this time one episode, and many of you are probably wondering, Chibi, you're already making a mistake. You should definitely have watched a lot more of Eden Zero instead of just one episode and been doing this video. Now hear me out. This is my overall plan for Eden Zero. I wanted to do a first impressions, like my overall thoughts of it, at least from the first episode, and then catch up with the anime, and then see how either my opinion changes or stays the same as I continue on with the anime. So I'll make like a video talking about the series again when I catch up. So I wanted to showcase like how maybe my opinion differs, where the series improves or doesn't improve in some areas. That's just what I wanted to do. So that is why I've only watched one episode of Eden Zero so far. But now that that's out of the way, let's talk about it. What's it about? Who's it by, etc. So I think everybody's probably already caught on. It's by Hiro Mashima, the mangaka that wrote Fairy Tail and also an iconic series called Rave Master. Both series are very well known, and a lot of people really love the series regardless of your personal feelings towards either series. They both are very, very popular. That, at the end of the day, that's the truth. That's just how it is. And Hiro Mashima obviously knows how to make a lot of success. He has written countless manga that have definitely probably earned him a lot of money over the years. And even though some might criticize him for certain elements or themes, even myself included, he's definitely very successful. Nobody can really take that away from the man. And Eden Zero, I have to say, is also, once again, another example of Hiro Mashima's success. He is someone that continuously is able to write something, even with a new setting, even if he's able to take maybe the same character designs from his previous works, he does introduce a whole new setting that really does get you engaged. And that's where Eden Zero's first episode comes in. While watching this, I was reminded of my love for anime. Now, I know this is going to come as like, but Chibi, shouldn't you always be reminded for your love of anime when you watch shows? Yes, that may be true. But you see, when I was younger, watching anime, like, for the first time, I was watching, let's say, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, catch up with Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, you get the point. I remember I was also watching Fairy Tail. Back in 2007, 2008, I remember watching the Fairy Tail anime, and this is before I ever thought I would be a YouTuber making content about anime and manga, or webtoons, etc. I remember sitting down after school, getting off of school, running off the bus, opening my doorway, and sitting down to watch Fairy Tail. And the reason why this is relevant to Eden Zero is those same emotions I had when I ran into the door into my house and got ready to watch anime, to watch Fairy Tail, is what I felt while watching the first episode of Eden Zero. Now, here's the thing. It's very clear by the overall concept of the first episode that it is definitely heavily heavily intertwined with Fairy Tail's overall structure, at least when it comes to the, the cycle of friendship, friendship, power-up, etc. And it also is heavily influenced by just the overall character designs from his previous works, Hiro Mashima's previous works from either Rave Master and also Fairy Tail. But once again, this does not detract from Eden Zero. In fact, I think it actually adds a level of enjoyment to the first episode that I watched. And the reason why I talked about how I was reminded of my joy for anime, it reminded me of those days when I would sit down, I would look at an anime, and I wouldn't think too hard about it. I wouldn't try to, say, oh, this series is crap because of this, or, just how reviewers are. It's how I am, too. I'm always looking at anime from a different perspective and trying to understand maybe why a writer would do so-and-so, and sometimes it's very nice to just sit down and just watch an anime for what it is. Now, I'm not trying to give the excuse, oh, just turn off your brain and enjoy the show. It's just a fun show. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying that sometimes anime are good to be simple. They're very good to be fun. And nothing too crazy and over, pizzazzy to where it has to blow you at every corner around the story. Like, for instance, like what 86 did to me last night. Sometimes something very simplistic, basic, and down-to-earth can just be so enjoyable, and Eden Zero is an adventure story. It's very clear that is what Hiro Mashima was writing when he decided to sit down and make Eden Zero. He wanted an adventure, and he's always been good with that. I mean, Rave Master, Fairy Tail, and regardless of how your feelings are towards those, he is good at making adventure stories. You feel like you're on a journey, a quest. There's so many different unique environments and worlds and characters just thrown in. You could feel it. There is a lot of life put into the world that Hiro Mashima creates. And you could feel that same amount of effort, that love, put into Eden Zero. The adventure, the world. When we're introduced to our main character, the male main character, Shiki, and how he is surrounded by robots, this world is unique. And it's basically, he's the only human on the planet. The entire planet, he's the only human, but he's surrounded by robots. And then, as he encounters a human girl, our main female character, Rebecca, he actually finds a true friend, and she takes him on a journey into space. And then the whole world opens up before his eyes, and it just reminds you of this grand journey that awaits while you sit down to read or watch this series. And I appreciate that. Hiro Mashima really knows how to just make you immersed. Like, if you really want to, like, if you really sit down and don't want to be judgmental and rip something apart, he knows how to get you just wanting to watch and enjoy it. It's so enjoyable. And I actually was enjoying the first episode of Eden Zero a lot. It's a really good first episode. It introduces the characters, Rebecca, Shiki, and yes, even Happy is in the series. We get an overall structure of the plot. Basically, our main male character, Shiki, he wants to obtain 100 friends. It reminds me of another series I read recently, Komi-san. But just everything about it, it really does go to show that Hiro Mashima knows how to hit these certain tropes, these certain cliches, and make them work to a certain degree. And I feel like the overall friendship narrative that he's always used, especially over too much in Fairy Tail, doesn't feel so, forceful with at least the first episode of Eden Zero. It feels natural. It doesn't feel like it's being shoved down your throat and you're supposed to accept it. It feels like he is maintaining a perfect balance of it. And even on top of that, we had character depth, which is another thing. Once again, I said I went into this with, no bias. I don't want to have any bias whatsoever. I went in with an open mind for Eden Zero. And I just want to make a quick comparison. This isn't bias, I just want to make a comparison. Basically, in Fairy Tail, one of the big concerns or problems I had with the story is that Hiro Mashima didn't know how to keep characters dead. But it's clear that he's learned somewhere that, emotional death is actually important and good to some degree. And you can see the characters, all these robots that die at the end of the first episode, it really elevates the narrative. It elevates, our main male character, Shiki, to go on an adventure. They forced him. It's a very stereotypical plot, yes, but it's still nicely done. It's executed such in a way that I was very impressed. Once again, I feel like Hiro Mashima, he is definitely a master at his craft, at least when it comes to immersion and enjoyability and an adventure story. And I feel that. I feel that while I was watching this. And I definitely say, so far, it is a better Fairy Tail. I feel like if I was to compare the pilots of Fairy Tail's first episode to the pilot of Eden Zero's first episode, Eden Zero is definitely better in all purposes. Like, it's better in every area, in my opinion. Now, there is some things that I am a little bit annoyed about, and I will talk about that in just a second. But I think Eden Zero has a lot of potential. I can see now why people told me to give this, a series a shot and actually give it, the overall review it deserves. For instance, not go in very harsh and not go in and basically say, oh, it's Hiro Mashima work, it's automatically going to be trash, etc. Because some people will definitely do that. They'll think that because of just Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail did leave a bad taste in people's mouth after it finished. And I can see people judging the series for that. And I was in the past as well. I will admit that. I will, and I apologize for it. I have definitely done that in the past. But I feel like after seeing it, it's better than I thought. And it's definitely an interesting premise. And I see why people like this story. And I see now why people told me to watch it for myself and then see if I would like it. And I feel like I probably am going to enjoy this. Is this going to be my favorite series of all time? No. Is it going to be my favorite anime from the season? Probably not. But is it going to be something that I can really enjoy and not be disgusted with that I watched? Probably. I probably will definitely have a good time. And I'm going to be catching up, and I definitely want to do another video when I do catch up on it and talk about my overall feelings towards it and how it's changed. Now, getting into the overall bad that I saw from the first episode, one of the big things that really kind of irks me is the over-excessive amount of fan service. Now, okay, once again, as I've already talked about, Hiro Mashima is known for certain elements, themes, and he definitely has always been about fan service, the ecchi stuff, when it comes to his writing. Like in manga or anime, we have seen it. Fairy Tail is a very good example of this, and you can see that once again happening in Eden Zero. Now, it's not so over the top that it is annoying, but you could definitely see that fan service ecchi stuff coming through throughout the episode. And I feel like Hiro Mashima, he doesn't need excessive amount of fan service to really make Eden Zero good. I feel like it's just fluff. It's just there. Yeah, some fan service every so often is okay, but I feel like too much of it will detract from what is making Eden Zero so good. So I do hope, as the series progresses, I'm not asking him to just completely cut fan service. I just hope it doesn't become the overall main focus, because, like chapters basically dedicated to it. I hope that we get a lot of story progression, a lot of character development, and there is potential for that. So that is my only concern so far with the show. I don't even care that Happy is reinserted in to Eden Zero. I'm not one of those that really hate Happy like everyone else. I understand why people did not like Happy in Fairy Tail. Well, I didn't hate him as much as everybody else. But at the same time, it is a nice little unique thing that Hiro Mashima does with his series. Like, he added Plu into Fairy Tail from Rave Master, and now Happy from Fairy Tail is being added to Eden Zero. So, it's fitting. It fits his overall style, so it's not a concern for me. And I do like Rebecca so far. I feel like she's so far a better Lucy. I think she is a better Lucy for what I've seen. But, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I think that my overall impressions are positive. I'm not really upset with what I watched. I'm happy I watched it, and I cannot wait to see what's next. So I want to continue with an open mind on my journey through watching this story. And also, one of the things that you're probably wondering is, where did I watch it? All I'm going to say is this series is in Netflix jail. So if you want to watch it, you're going to have to skirt around and do your own means. That's all I'm going to say. But, yeah. But anyways, you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, and if you want to see more Eden Zero-like videos and stuff, let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, hit that bell icon, and with that, guys, be safe. Chibi out.